Every midnight, the old chapel on Widow's Hill lit its candles by itself. Villagers locked their doors before the bells rang, because that was when the ghost bride appeared. She walked slowly through the fog in a torn white wedding dress, her veil drifting like smoke behind her. Her pale hands carried a bouquet of dead roses, and her hollow eyes searched endlessly for one thing: a groom. Long ago, before she became a ghost, her name was Eleanor. On the night of her wedding, she waited alone inside the chapel while rain hammered the windows. Hours passed, but her fiancé never came. Instead, news arrived that he had died crossing the river on his way to marry her. Heartbroken, Eleanor refused to leave the altar. By sunrise, grief had taken her life too. And ever since then, her spirit returned every night, still dreaming of the wedding she never had. At first, men laughed at the stories, until they saw her. Travellers who passed the hill at midnight spoke of a beautiful woman calling softly from the mist. "Will you marry me?" Some followed her hypnotic voice toward the glowing chapel, but the moment they reached the altar and lifted her veil, they ran screaming, because beneath the veil was not a bride, but a face cracked like porcelain, with empty eyes leaking black tears. No man ever stayed, no matter how lonely she looked, no matter how softly she cried. One stormy evening, a poor young musician named Daniel wandered into the village, carrying only a violin and a worn coat. At the inn, villagers warned him, "Do not go near Widow's Hill tonight." Daniel smiled. "Ghost stories don't scare me." At midnight, while walking through the fog, he heard church bells echo across the hill. Then he saw her. The ghost bride stood beneath the moonlight, her dress fluttering silently. "Will you marry me?" she whispered. Daniel's hands trembled. She was terrifying. But behind the horror in her face, he saw something else. Sadness. The kind that never ended. Instead of running, he quietly asked, "Did someone leave you behind?" The ghost froze. For the first time in decades, someone had spoken to her gently. Tears rolled down her cracked cheeks. "I only wanted one dance," she whispered. The chapel doors slowly creaked open behind her. Candles burst into flame. Music echoed faintly through the empty hall. Daniel swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed at him to flee. But instead, he lifted his violin and began to play. The ghost bride stared in disbelief as music filled the chapel for the first time in 100 years. Slowly, she offered her trembling hand. Daniel took it, and there, beneath shattered stained glass and flickering candles, the living man danced with the dead bride. As they moved across the chapel floor, Elena's ruined face slowly changed. The cracks faded. Her hollow eyes filled with warmth. For a brief moment, she looked alive again. Beautiful. Peaceful. When the final note ended, the ghost smiled softly. "Thank you," she whispered. Then her body dissolved into glowing white petals that drifted into the night air. The chapel bells rang one final time, and for the first time in a century, Widow's Hill became silent.